January 23, 2025. President Trump signed an executive order declassifying every remaining document about the JFK assassination. After 62 years of secrecy, the government finally released everything. Thousands of pages, CIA files, FBI reports, military intelligence, and what they revealed changes everything we thought we knew about November 22, 1963. This is Declassified Truth. I'm your host, and today we're examining the 2025 JFK files, the documents they kept hidden for over 6 decades. What did the CIA know? What did they hide? And why did it take 62 years to tell the truth? Let's find out. On January 23, 2025, President Trump issued Executive Order 14,176, Declassification of Records Concerning the Assassinations of President John F. Kennedy. The order mandated immediate release of all previously withheld JFK assassination records. For context, in 1992, Congress passed the JFK Records Act requiring full disclosure by 2017. But when 2017 arrived, the CIA and FBI requested continued secrecy for thousands of documents, citing national security. President Trump delayed release. President Biden delayed again. But in January 2025, Trump ordered complete declassification. No more delays. No more excuses. The National Archives released over 13,000 previously classified documents. Here's what we learned. First, the CIA had far more contact with Lee Harvey Oswald than they ever admitted. Newly released documents show the CIA tracked Oswald's movements in Mexico City in September 1963, 2 months before the assassination. They photographed him meeting with Soviet officials at the Russian embassy. They recorded his phone calls. They knew he was in contact with KGB agents, and they never told the FBI. They never told the Secret Service. They never warned anyone protecting the president. Second, the FBI destroyed evidence. A memo released in the 2025 files confirms that an FBI agent named James Hosty destroyed a note Oswald delivered to the FBI office in Dallas, just weeks before the assassination. The note allegedly contained a threat. Hosty shredded it after the assassination and denied its existence for years. Why? What was in that note? The documents don't say, because the note is gone. The biggest revelation in the 2025 files, the CIA's relationship with Lee Harvey Oswald was far deeper than anyone knew. Here's what the documents reveal. In 1959, Oswald defected to the Soviet Union. He renounced his U.S. citizenship, married a Russian woman, and lived in Minsk for nearly 3 years. Then, in 1962, he returned to the United States. Easily, with his Russian wife, no Wen-T, no investigation. This always seemed suspicious. Defectors during the Cold War were interrogated, monitored, investigated. But Oswald? Nothing. The newly released documents explain why. The CIA had opened a 201 file on Oswald in December 1960, while he was still in Russia. A 201 file is a personality file. It's what the CIA creates when they're actively monitoring someone or recruiting them. The documents show the CIA tracked Oswald's every movement after he returned to the U.S. They knew he traveled to Mexico City in September 1963. They knew he met with Soviet and Cuban officials. They knew he was trying to get a visa to Cuba. And here's the part that changes everything. A declassified CIA memo from October 1963 describes Oswald as a person of interest in Soviet counterintelligence operations. Translation: they thought Oswald might be a Soviet spy. and they never told the Secret Service. 1 month later, President Kennedy was dead. Did the CIA intentionally withhold information that could have prevented the assassination? The documents don't answer that, but they prove the CIA knew far more than they admitted. And there's more. Another memo reveals that a CIA officer named George Ioannidis was directly involved in operations connected to Oswald in 1963. Ioannidis ran propaganda operations against Cuba. He had contact with anti-Castro groups that Oswald infiltrated. When Congress investigated the assassination in the 1970s, the CIA never mentioned Ioannidis. They hid his involvement for decades. Why? The 2025 files don't say, but the cover-up is now undeniable. The 2025 files also reveal something the government kept hidden for 62 years. Military intelligence knew Oswald was a threat. Newly declassified documents show that U.S. military intelligence maintained a file on Oswald starting in 1959 when he defected. They classified him as a security risk. They monitored his return to the United States. They tracked his pro-Castro activities in New Orleans. And in September 1963, military intelligence noted Oswald's trip to Mexico City and his attempts to reach Cuba. So let's be clear, the CIA knew about Oswald. The FBI knew about Oswald. Military intelligence knew about Oswald. None of them warned the Secret Service before Kennedy's trip to Dallas. Why not? The documents reveal bureaucratic failures, communication breakdowns, and deliberate secrecy. But they also reveal something darker. Some officials suspected Oswald was being used. A memo from a senior FBI official states, "There is a possibility Oswald was acting as an agent provocateur for a foreign intelligence service." Translation, they thought Oswald might be a pawn, someone else's asset. But whose? The Soviets? The Cubans? Or someone closer to home? The 2025 files don't answer that question, because the key documents are still heavily redacted. Yes, even in the full declassification, entire sections are blacked out. Why? What are they still hiding? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Even after the complete declassification, thousands of pages remain redacted. The 2025 files contain documents with entire paragraphs blacked out, names removed, sections labeled "still classified for national security." What could possibly threaten national security 62 years later? Everyone involved is dead. The Cold War is over. The Soviet Union doesn't exist. So what are they protecting? The most heavily redacted documents involve CIA operations in Mexico and Cuba in 1963, names of CIA officers and assets who had contact with Oswald, details about surveillance programs targeting American citizens, FBI informants within communist and anti-Castro groups. One theory, the redactions protect the identities of CIA sources and methods still in use today. Another theory, the redactions hide embarrassing truths about how intelligence agencies failed, or worse, enabled the assassination. What we know for certain, the CIA and FBI withheld critical information before the assassination. They destroyed evidence afterward. They lied to investigators for decades. And even now, in 2025, they're still hiding something. But here's what the 2025 files do confirm. Lee Harvey Oswald was on the radar of every major intelligence agency in America. The CIA tracked him for years and never shared that information. The FBI destroyed evidence linking them to Oswald. Military intelligence classified him as a security risk and did nothing. Whether Oswald acted alone or as part of a larger conspiracy remains debated. But the 2025 files prove one thing beyond doubt. The government covered up what they knew. for 62 years. The 2025 JFK files don't solve the mystery, they deepen it. We now know the CIA, FBI, and military intelligence all tracked Oswald. We know they withheld information that might have prevented the assassination. We know they destroyed evidence and lied to investigators, but we still don't know why. Was it incompetence, bureaucratic failure, or something more sinister? The documents don't answer that, and the redactions suggest we may never know the full truth. What's clear is this: the official story, that Oswald acted alone, that no one saw it coming, that intelligence agencies had no prior knowledge, is false. They knew. They watched. They did nothing. And for 62 years, they kept it secret. This is declassified truth. Every Tuesday and Friday, we investigate the documents governments finally release and what they still hide. Next video, we're covering the 2025 MLK and RFK assassination files, also declassified by Trump in January. Subscribe, hit the bell. The government spent decades hiding these documents. We're bringing them to light. See you next time.